you're watching Vantage Point with me, Cherish Leow. And here today we are looking at entrepreneurial mindset and building entrepreneurial ecosystem. As economic transformation program, as the driving force, we are as a nation moving towards a high-income economy, but then there are challenges along the way, and we believe that entrepreneurs might be the answer. And here with me today is Vishen Lakhiani. He's a Mindvalley founder and also CEO. And sitting next to him is Zhu Ming. He's the co-director of Founder Institute Malaysia. Welcome, you guys. Welcome joining us on the show. First, I want to look at talent. When we talk about talent, we look at brain drain. And when we address brain drain, we want to look at how can we reverse that? Because if, according to some figures, in World Bank 2011, the number of skilled Malaysians, there are 54%, they move to Singapore, and then 15% to Australia, 10% to US, and 5% to UK. So why is it still persistent in Malaysia? Not just Malaysia, actually, it's a global phenomena. What about Vishen? You want to start with that?
Sure. Well, the thing is, if you look at the way the world is progressing right now, nations are diminishing in power. And individuals are being more empowered through modern technologies, through the internet, through the ability to connect with anyone instantly. I mean, if I were to start a company right now, I may be living in Malaysia. I don't necessarily have to even start the company in Malaysia. I could move to Chile and join Startup Chile. I could try to get a grant or find an investor, move to Silicon Valley. In fact, I can be any darn place I want. The world has become a lot more globalized. It's a good thing. Now, the thing is, as individuals become more important and countries diminish in their power, nations, like a good product, like a good company, have to start elevating their brand to attract the best and brightest. And so you have countries like Estonia that impose a flat tax to attract entrepreneurs, or Chile that launches Startup Chile, or Singapore and all the many perks that they're doing. Malaysia's just going to have to compete. And by doing so, I think Malaysia can get its best and brightest to consider staying here, and also get smart talent from outside the world to also move to Malaysia.
But what about Zhu Ming? If you come from, because I believe that you have been participating with Startup Mama, and at the same time you're the co-director of Founder Institute Malaysia. What do you think, what can we do to actually challenge brain drain? You want to challenge it, you want to reverse it. What do you think we can do about it?
Yeah, sure. Well, Startup Mama is something that my co-director is involved in very deeply, and it's definitely one of those events that we're trying to promote, to build a community around this. I think brain drain is kind of a big question to answer, but really from a perspective of why people are leaving the country for kind of greener pastures. One of the key things that I've kind of observed is the fact that people tend to look at other countries as kind of grass is greener on the other side sort of thing, and they don't tend to look at what's in their own backyard. If you look at our backyard, I wouldn't just talk about Malaysia. If you look at Southeast Asia, there's talking about Indonesia, kind of Vietnam. We have about 600 over million population to deal with. So when you talk about being able to look at opportunities for people, so entrepreneurship obviously is important because it creates jobs.
Yeah.
But if you look at generally why people leave, I think people are kind of misguided and have a bad perception of what's going on here.
Because you talk about opportunities, I think we can look at it's because they're living, can we say that it's because our ecosystem or the supportive system is not strong enough? What do you think?
Absolutely. Firstly, I disagree with somewhat with what Zhu Ming said. I don't think people are misguided. People are freaking smart. If I'm going to move to a country, I'm going to be doing my research.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not that people are misguided. It's that our policies are misguided. We do a lot of dumb things which are not going to carry us into the future, the way Gen Y thinks in terms of where they want to live. I mean, if you really want to get Malaysians to stay here and get foreign talent over here, it's so easy. All Malaysia needs is a branding makeover. This can be done in 1 year if you use the right makeover tactics, if you use the right messages, not the Malaysia Truly Asia that you see in CNN International. Look, if I want to get, I've got 70-something foreign talent to come and join my various Mindvalley companies here in Kuala Lumpur. And many of this talent choose to leave their home countries of Canada or the UK or the US, come here, work for a Malaysian salary. Why? Because I've shown them the light. I've shown them the opportunities over here. A number of different opportunities. Number one, it is cheap to live here, and you get to do amazing things. I mean, you can, with the internet, you can earn in US dollars, spend in ringgit. Boom, you just multiplied your spending power by 3. Secondly, Air Asia and the proximity to beautiful places to travel. If you want to be in one of the most exciting travel regions in the world, KL is your hub. Third, you know, it's the lifestyle over here. I find Singapore a little bit stifling. I find other countries around here, like Indonesia, a little bit backwards. Kuala Lumpur has a nice medium of, you know, civilization and monorails and skyscrapers, but you know, the dirty, gritty, like Southeast Asian culture that sometimes can be exciting. Fourth, there's talent here, incredible freaking talent. The government doesn't really shine a light on this talent, but there's amazing talent here through projects like Founders Institute and what you're doing in Project Renaissance. This talent is coming together in really unique ways. Well, fifth, what I'd say is the Malaysian culture itself, the diversity of cultures, the people, the holidays, the food. I mean, I've lived in the US. My wife is from Europe. I chose to be over here, and I'm pretty excited about my choice. And I've been able to live in Malaysia, embrace Malaysia without government loans or any of that other stuff, just because Malaysia itself has so much to offer once you actually look at it. The branding, though, that we give it, the government is shining a light on the wrong things. No entrepreneur I know, no young startup entrepreneur gives a rat's ass about something like Cyberjaya. They don't. They're looking at other things. The government simply has to shine the spotlight on stuff that they are not seeing. They don't see it because they're a bunch of 40 to 50-year-old people who are smart, but from a previous generation. They need to look at it from the eyes of a Gen Y.
So, because actually our Prime Minister, they are engaging with the youth right now. They are having roundtable discussion to learn more about what the younger generations are thinking. So isn't it one of the first steps that our government is already making, which is
and
good?
They're making some good progress over there.
And Ken, I think, because just now, Zhu Ming, you talk about perception. You talk about our Malaysians, we are looking at our country, we prefer to look at the greener pastures overseas. And then Vishen, just now you brought up the concept about branding and also about entrepreneurs. So in the second block, next, I'm going to look at what is the right entrepreneurial mindset, and then how can we nurture the younger talents. That will be the topic we are looking at. So this, I'll see you after the break. Welcome back to Vantage Point. You're still with me, Cherish Leow, and Vishen Lakhiani, and also Zhu Ming. And before the break, we talked about brain drain and talking about how we reverse that. And so right now, we want to look at how we can nurture the future generations with the correct mindset that would start a business and then take on the world, maybe.
In terms of entrepreneurial mindset, now there are 6 things I believe really makes an entrepreneur like do epic things. Now the first one is thinking big, aspiration. In other words, big goals, big visions, constantly pushing yourself forward. But there's a second thing which most people think is the opposite of that, and that is have fun in the now. Be happy, have fun in the now, and do not tie your happiness to your goals. So my whole philosophy of entrepreneurship is called the flow state. It means having big goals pulling you forward, but being happy in the now. I mean, if you walk into a Mindvalley office, people say it's the happiest place in the world after Disneyland. I believe this puts you in the right frame of mind to move forward. But there are 4 additional things you need to really accelerate that. It's the ability to grow yourself. In other words, to pour yourself into study, into research. If you're an entrepreneur, you've got to be going through growth at a rate that is beyond what you learn in university. Item number 4, connections. You need to know how to make the right connections, access the right people, because ultimately building a business is all about connecting the dots between different opportunities out there. Now the final 2 are the ability to ideate, to come up with new ideas. Now that is easier than it sounds. The model is pivoting. Every entrepreneur should read the book Lean Startup and learn about how to rapidly, approach an idea from one direction, see if it works. If not, pivot, move to the next direction. And finally, the ability to execute. All entrepreneurs, if you're building a startup, are going to find yourself as either having a focus on technology, in which case you're more of a tech entrepreneur, or a tech CEO, marketing, in which case you focus as a marketing CEO, or operations. Find out what is your gift, focus on that, bring in the right people, and learn to build a team. So if your focus is marketing, find the right technologist, find the right operations person, build that team, and learn to execute rapidly. So again, it's big dreams, yet being happy in the now, growth, knowing how to make connections, knowing how to ideate, knowing how to execute. Now those 6 ingredients, when you bring them together, I believe allows anyone to really build a business and accelerate that business forward.
If we want to look at, because just now you were talking about the right mindset and stuff like that, but whether or not our education system is already doing it well.
Yeah, okay. I think there are kind of 2 areas that is from my observation. One is, the idea of self-reliance. The fact that when you come out of school or even work, we've been trained to look for a job, right? And being an entrepreneur meaning standing on your own 2 feet and earning money on your own and just doing things on your own, generating revenues with your own efforts, is something that has not really been emphasized. So people tend to not think that that they can do things on their own. I think that's one of the drawbacks in our education. I think it's also prevalent in most education systems today. The second is really risk-taking, right? The element of risk-taking. If we kind of inculcate this kind of idea that it's okay to take risks, it's okay to fail because it's part of the learning process. And if that, we emphasize a lot more on that and did not have kind of negative perceptions of generally community at large, then people would try to do things more often. And because entrepreneurship is more often than not, it's about doing stuff. So doing stuff and having opportunity costs. So like Vishen mentioned, doing the big things, right? Taking that big leap is something that we have to kind of plant seeds into.
But then having the entrepreneur to have that kind of mindset is one thing. But what about the people around them? What if there are noises saying that your idea doesn't work? So why don't you just get back to your old job, get a decent job, become a lawyer, probably a financial banker, you can earn more than become an entrepreneur? Because some entrepreneur that I know, they say that it's definitely for the first probably 10 years, probably you won't be making that much of money, because it takes years for you to build a certain business and a product. But then that's the feedback that I get from some entrepreneurs.
So what's going on is the world right now, especially the education system, is fed a delusion. Instead, and then cut back on other classes that may not be so important, okay? Now the second thing is, spend 1 hour of the school day having kids watch TED Talks. Just take TED Talks, pick a different topic. In fact, give the teachers free rein to pick the TED Talk, or there are so many amazing talks out there on the web. Our own festival, Awesomeness Fest, also releases tons of great talks. But TED is by far the best. Spend an hour, pick a 20-minute TED Talk. It could be on entrepreneurship, it could be on mindset, it could be on health and fitness, or it could be on some epic thing that someone somewhere on the planet is doing. Have the kids watch that, and then have the kids discuss it. See, that way you're going straight to the core. In the 1980s, a guy by the name of Maxwell Maltz wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. He talks about this idea of self-image psychology. The image you have in your head of who you are will determine who you are. The problem is the education system creates that wrong image. I was lucky that my parents were able to send me to the US, where I was able to open my eyes out and see a whole new way of the world. And so my self-image changed, my image of what was possible. That changed my reality. What we need to do is basically unbrainwash an entire generation of Malaysian kids to show them what is truly capable in the world out there. That's what we're trying to do with Project Renaissance. On Friday, we had busloads bring in students from Taylor's College into our auditorium. We had 250 people over here. We brought in some of Malaysia's smartest poets. We brought in celebrities like Asha Gill to talk to these kids and to show them new models of living. It's about new models of living. Okay. Get rid of some of the nonsensical stuff that we're teaching in schools. Encourage people to see what are the amazing things going on in the world, from Singularity University to TED Talks. Get them to discuss it. And one final thing, teach all of this in English.
Okay, because just now you brought in an interesting point about TED Talk.
Right.
Because TED Talk is one of the online classes. You can call it as a classes, right? If you are self-direct kind of and motivational kind of individual, right? So after the break, I would like to talk about online education a little bit, and then we'll talk about innovation and brought in about Founder Institute and then Project Renaissance. So we'll continue the discussion after the break. Welcome back to Vantage Point. You're still with me, Cherish Leow. So before the break, we talk about online schooling and we talk about examples like TED Talk, but I would like to expand a little bit more on that. Because not just TED Talk, nowadays we have Code Academy for programmers if you want to learn, and it's free, right? And then you have a Google Code University, and then there are a few more examples like Udemy, right, that you previously mentioned. So if you want to look at this kind of classes, indeed they have the potential to transform education around the world, because if we want to think about the children that doesn't have access to education as the developed nation or like in Malaysia, we are lucky enough to get education. But then they're at a point where in this nation, in Malaysia and in US and UK, the tuition fees are getting higher and higher. So students are graduating, going into a certain job market that is not so ideal. They probably won't get a job that they want. And then they have a big load of debt behind them because they pay for the tuition fees. So there's this debate going on, or school of thoughts, saying that college dropouts, they are already doing so successfully, like Steve Jobs, Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg. Those are good examples. But those examples, at the same time, is not very common that we can find. Yes, you leave college early, but whether or not you can be as successful an entrepreneur like Steve Jobs or Mark Zuckerberg is just, you wouldn't know. So what do you think? College or no college? University or no university?
Firstly, college is going to be obsolete in the next decade. As I've said before, I'm not bothering to even save money for my kid's college fund, because by the time he's ready for college, it's going to be 2026. College will probably not be necessary. Again, the thing is, what you said about those examples being rare and in between, the next Steve Jobs, the next Mark, of course, that's 0.0000001% of the entrepreneurial landscape. But the fact is, there are millions of entrepreneurs out there. There are hundreds of thousands of companies in Silicon Valley where people are leading epic lives while earning 100, 200K a year without a college degree. Look, in my family, my family is from Malaysia. My dad grew up in Sagama. My dad has 8 siblings, all brothers. Every single one is an entrepreneur. Not all have a college degree, but every single one is an entrepreneur. Why? Because that entrepreneurship mindset was cultivated early. And the fact is, you do not need a college degree to be an entrepreneur. In fact, I would dare say you don't need a college degree at all. The way the world is working right now, you can hack education. So you could spend $20,000 if you were in the US getting a US college degree, but for that same $20,000, you can travel the world, you can work as interns in companies, understand how these companies work. You can send yourself to events such as TEDx Talks, to Awesomeness Fest, to Burning Man, where you can learn to connect. So college is a linear form of education that mattered in a world before the internet, in a world before connected, empowered groups of people were creating their own, like communities and educational forums. Right now, you don't need college. I would advise people to actually skip it. I'm not saying skip learning. I'm saying take that money, take that money and time and pour it into travel, into interning at hot companies, into attending conferences, seminars on specific topics that matter to you. And I believe at the end of it, you'll be able to become an entrepreneur and become a lot wealthier and more successful way faster than someone who goes through the college path.
But when we talk about entrepreneurship, right, you talk about mindset, we talk about talents and everything, but there's one thing that we also mention all the time, which is innovation, right? So when we talk about innovation, we see a lot of product and a lot of companies, they come up and then they come with similar products that we've seen somewhere else in another market. So in a sense that we see that they are replicating a certain success that they've already proven. So how far along are we, like how advanced we are in terms of innovation if we want to look at in Malaysia or we want to look at the regional market?
I think innovation here is a very big word, and when I kind of look at innovation, I'm looking at something that meets something that's different for a customer. We talk about business, right? So whether it's being replicated, and this is just my personal opinion, whether it's being replicated from somewhere else and adopted in a market where it's not being currently used, I think that in a way, and if it's localized, that could be a form of innovation in that sense. Something that's kind of technological innovation in the sense that if it's completely different from that standpoint, there remains to be seen something that kind of, it's a game changer from that sense. So I think when you talk about innovation, it needs to be qualified. I think Malaysia has, or even most Asian countries, adopt this model of kind of replicating from other nations and still doing well and serves the market, right? So where Malaysia stands, I think, just from observation, game-changing stuff is something that, not to say that we don't have the potential, but we haven't really seen that much lately.
Yeah.
But if you can take innovation and use something that has been done before and put it in a localized sense, like what AirAsia is doing, or some of these other models out there, kind of putting in where the market needs it, and there's no one kind of providing that. I think we're doing all right, and I think still a fair bit of potential there.
And then now touching on that, I would like to also look at community building. So now we have a Mindvalley initiative, Project Renaissance. At the same time, Founder Institute Malaysia is finally here in Malaysia. So it's an opportunity for our local entrepreneurs to leverage on a larger global network of entrepreneurship, saying that because Founder Institute is a global network of accelerator, right? And then, so I would like to hear from both of you, like if we want to help to build up and foster this environment so that we can potentially have the next Instagram or Google, hopefully. How do you guys plan to do it in this, probably the next couple of years or within this year?
Well, with Project Renaissance, here's what we're doing at Mindvalley. We have built this, and this is where we are filming right now. This is the Hall of Awesomeness. Now, we put 7 million ringgit into this hall. It's all privately funded. And we are pledging 1 million ringgit worth of donations to entrepreneurial groups and organizations in Malaysia that are doing things to enhance the entrepreneurial scene. This 1 million ringgit goes to basically funding their meetup space. So what we're going to do is give access to this space to groups that bring people together and educate. In other words, we are funding an opportunity to hack the education system. Now, just to give an example, on Friday, this space hosted 247 people, including students from 50-something students from Taylor's College. We had Malaysian celebrities, Malaysian thinkers, all teaching and giving speeches, TED-style talks on new ways of living. And it's amazing seeing what's going on in the audience. Like I've had people come up to me and say, I was once thinking about leaving Malaysia because I did not know that this type of thing exists. You guys have given me hope. So with Project Renaissance, what we're looking to do is create some 20 different groups. We've already created an epic space, created some 20 different groups, then bring in VC funding. We're bringing in about 2 or 3 different Silicon Valley incubator and accelerator programs into Malaysia. Then we're bringing in additional mentorship, additional training. The goal is, in the next 10 years, to put Kuala Lumpur on the map as one of the top 20 places on the planet to start a .com. Now, we've given ourselves 10 years to do it. I believe we can do it in 5.
Because now that Founder Institute is also in Malaysia, and you have in line the same vision as it is as Mindvalley itself, Project Renaissance. So what is Founders Institute plan to do to drive the growth of entrepreneurship in Malaysia, and then in turn also at the same time to lift up our economy as a nation?
Well, maybe I can explain a little bit what the Founder Institute is. So the Founder Institute is essentially a school that helps budding entrepreneurs make that decision on whether they should be an entrepreneur or not. So it's actually a very kind of early stage sort of play where people are kind of 50-50 and still working and they have a job. And the Institute plays a role to guide them. So what we do is through a network of mentors and across 39 countries. We want to kind of put people through this program where they have a rigorous kind of schedule of things they need to do. So at the end of the 15 weeks, and it's over 15 weeks, they would have something that has legs, so to speak. So they would probably have like a couple of team members with maybe 30%, 40% or 50% of the product done, and they are confident enough to have a transitional period for them to say, hey, I'm going to quit my job and I'm going to go through this. So that is really pretty much the goal. And I think that is very much in line with what, for example, people like what Vishen are doing, because that in a way fits a gap where people are kind of encouraged to build businesses. Then when we kind of move them to the next level, folks like the incubators or people who start putting money in, like through VC funds, would then have their role to play. So our role is kind of very, how should I say, very early stage in terms of inculcating the mindset, so to speak. So we hope to kind of fit that gap in the market. And we're very much focused on technology entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
So not something that's kind of really brick
Not
and
the
mortar.
traditional sectors.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
very focused on technology type companies.
Okay, I'm afraid that that's all the time we have today. I believe that the discussion can go on for hours because there's so many things to talk about. But then for all the audiences out there, if you would like to check out about the initiative by Mindvalley and then at the same time by Founder Institute, you can check out their website and you can just Google search. And so that's all the time we have today for Vantage Point. I'm Cherish Leow. I'll see you again soon.